I'm not your run-of-the-mill detective. I don't handle cheating spouses or paint-by-numbers murder cases. Nah. I'm the one they call when chemistry gets explosive, and not in the romantic way. I was on my third glass when she walked in. The personification of chaos in heels. Detective, I need your help. My husband, he's gone missing, you see. See, I've been in the detective business for a long time. Never flubbed a case for 17 years. But even now, I was having trouble detecting why I should care. Last time I remember, he was waxing lyrical about a blue hedgehog, one that goes very fast. Inhumanely fast. How fast are we talking? Moves faster than the eye can see. Can even break the sound barrier. Huh? He's not alone either. He's accompanied by a fox. From what I've heard, this fox has two tails. Uses them like propellers to fly. I couldn't tell you whether this broad was on too many drugs or too little. But whatever it was, it wasn't the right amount. I'm sorry, what? To fly. Lady, don't take this the wrong way, but are you on crack? I'm perfectly sober, detective. Okay, right, so you were saying flying fox. I mean, there's an actual flying fox, but you mean this is a fox that flies. That's right. Okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll take the case. At this point, I'd say anything to get this crazy bitch out of my office. I'll leave it in your capable hands, detective. Whatever. Oh well. Guess I gotta say the thing now. No one outruns physics. Not on my watch.
Hey everyone, welcome to Science Crimes, which is the absolute exercise in futility of logically nitpicking shit that was never meant to be scientifically accurate in the first place. My name is Sevdha. Friends call me Sevi.
And I think I'm gonna have fun with this one today.
Here's a little background story. I used to be an obsessed Sonic fan back when I was a kid. I wish I could say that I had a lot of Sonic memorabilia but no. I lived in Jamaica where I didn't really have access to any of that stuff. So I think I had maybe one little Sonic shaped radio and one comic that I used to read over and over because that was the only thing I had. But I really did not have much to go off of. I've also played the games when I was little, from, I guess, family members' consoles, so that's actually how I got into it. But I was a Sonic mega fan with my one little Sonic comic. Today's science crime is going to be a bit of a childhood nostalgia trip for me.
And I totally forgot to say the tagline when I was filming this, so I'm just gonna say it here. Let's investigate some crimes against science. Alright, let's go.
So let's start with the cerulean Cyclops himself. Sonic. He has one giant ass eye with two pupils.
Change my mind. So when I was researching, I found out that Sonic's design was influenced by Felix the Cat, Mickey Mouse, Michael Jackson, and Santa Claus. Is a little terrifying. He was supposed to be called Mr. Needle Mouse.
Fun fact, hedgehog in Japanese is harinezumi, which means needle mouse.
So let's start with one little inaccuracy that actually defines a major aspect of the gameplay. The idea that hedgehogs can't swim.
Hedgehogs can swim. So the creator thought for some reason that hedgehogs couldn't swim, and even after he was corrected, he decided to go with it anyway. Isn't it great that one person can come up with a whole ass stereotype all on their own? So yeah, now Sonic can't swim, apparently. Let's take a look at an actual hedgehog swimming.
There's no real reason for me to extend the clip this long. I just thought it was cute.
You probably all know the ass-clenching melody that is the Sonic drowning music. I used to have that as my ringtone for when my mom called. So anytime I started hearing, I would hear that and go, shit, what did I do now? Well, anyway, they curl up into a ball, so at least that's accurate. And hedgehogs are very asocial creatures. They don't really mess with each other all that much. So Sonic being this extroverted team player is not very hedgehog-like. So I think that's his tail. On real hedgehogs, you'd have to look real hard to find that tail. It's usually really small and hidden beneath the spines, and they also leave a trail of crap when they run. So Sonic would be a nocturnal, slow-moving bug addict with a top speed of 6 miles per hour if he felt like it. So instead of smashing robots, he'd curl up into a spiky ball at the first sign of danger and stay that way until the coast is clear. It might swim across a stream if it had to, but more than likely it would just not. In real life, if Sonic encountered a threat, more than likely he'll hibernate in a hollow log for half of the game. Here's something real interesting. If a hedgehog encounters a strong smell, they will put it in their mouths, chew it up until it makes a foamy some consistency, and they will take that saliva foam and they will smear it all over their spines. Why do they do this? Science is still confused. This is called self-anointing, still one of the weirdest rituals in the animal kingdom. And they can do this with anything like toad slime, cigarette butts, if it has a strong smell and doesn't kill them. Oh, speaking of which, they're actually pretty resistant to toxins. In the wild, hedgehogs usually live about 2 to 5 years, if they're in the wild. If they're not in the wild, if in captivity, they might live maybe 7 to 10 years. In rare cases, they may even live 12 years. So Sonic being 15 years old is a little bit beyond his natural lifespan. Alright, so official documents say that he goes at Mach 1 speed, which is the sound of, which is the speed of sound at sea level, which is 767 miles per hour. A real hedgehog's top speed is about 6 to 7 miles per hour. So let's explore what would actually happen to a hedgehog at Mach 1. Running that fast means that each footfall that hits the ground would have forces of hundreds of times of his body weight. The tiny hedgehog bones would shatter instantly. At Mach 1, air compresses into shock waves at the nose and leading edges. The friction alone would heat that hedgehog's body until he just burst into flames. Sonic wouldn't be a blue blur, he would be a blue fireball. Pew! The pressure of rushing air would collapse his lungs and rupture his eardrums. Sonic would suffocate or pop like a squeaky toy. And of course, as mentioned before, hedgehogs have very poor eyesight. And even if his vision worked, his brain wouldn't be able to process obstacles fast enough. He would bust into his first tree like a spiky pancake. What's more, breaking the sound barrier produces what is called a sonic boom. So every step Sonic took would probably blow out windows and rupture his organs. Why does he wear gloves? Alright, let's move on to Tails, because
What is going on here? Man look like him a bun spliff.
So Tails, which is actually a nickname for miles per hour, as in miles per hour, he is a child genius fox who's accomplished in mechanical engineering, and he has two tails that he can use to fly.
Did your butt just turn into a helicopter?
A buttcopter!
And even with all those credentials, I wouldn't be surprised if he couldn't find a job in this economy. So anyway, as strange as that all sounds, at least Tails looks like an actual fox. So dun dun dun! Ha ha ha! Foxes eat hedgehogs! That's probably why Tails follows Sonic around all the time. He's just biding his time.
I'm gonna eat your ass, Sonic!
Oh, they scream! Foxes scream as if a woman is getting murdered. It is a terrifying sound to behold. A built-in GPS. Now, foxes are one of the few animals believed to use Earth's magnetic field to line up their pounces. That is the most badass thing I've ever heard. They tend to jump northeast when they're hunting, giving them a sniper-like accuracy. Foxes also have an extensive vocal library. Beyond the infamous murder scream that they tend to do, foxes actually have more than 40 vocalizations, including something called geckering, which is a weird cackling sound during fights. And they also have high-pitched yipping noises. A real Tails would be a very noisy sidekick. Tails' helicopter trick does not hold up in science. I'm pretty sure that I didn't have to tell you that. A fox's tail is soft fur and flexible bone, not the rigid airfoil-shaped blades needed to generate lift. To actually fly, his tails would have to spin thousands of times per minute, producing forces that would rip his pelvis apart and fling the tail off entirely. Even if they somehow stayed attached, the lack of a counter rotor would cause his whole body to spin in the opposite direction. Add to that the sheer energy required, he'd need to eat thousands of calories just to hover for a few seconds. Science is fun. Unlike wolves, foxes are mostly solitary. They don't usually hunt in teams, which makes the idea that Tails is a team player or a loyal whatever very unfox-like. I can't English. Many of you who are probably very familiar with foxes know foxes are thieves. They're very mischievous. They've been caught stealing toys, shoes, golf balls just to play with them. They steal cat food. Fox's bushy tail is called a brush, so it's more than just for balance. They use it for warmth, like a blanket. Isn't that so cute? And for also signaling mood to other foxes and distracting predators. Foxes can actually thrive in cities because they raid trash bins and they can adapt to human environments. Tails wouldn't be a flying mechanical prodigy in reality. He'd be a garbage raiding, toy stealing banshee who screams in the night and lines up prey with a built-in compass. God, Tails is just dumb cute. Actually, he's smart cute, but anyway. Knuckles, my boy Knuckles! Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, so Knuckles is an echidna, kind of like a Great Value hedgehog. They come from New Guinea and Australia. Who thinks Knuckles should have had an Australian accent? I would pay some good money to hear Knuckles with an Australian accent.
And he goes, "Don't be a hero, mate." And I said, "I'm not trying to be a hero."
Knuckles is an echidna, as I mentioned before, and an echidna is a solitary spiny monotreme who Sega decided should be a flying, gliding martial artist. Oh, they really took some creative liberties with these creatures, I'm telling you. He'd be more at home facing an anthill than gliding through the air. And, yeah, let's see, what other echidna facts are there? Okay, so echidnas lay eggs, and echidnas are one of the only two mammals in the world, the other being the platypus, that lays eggs. So Knuckles canonically should have hatched from an egg. His actual Chaos Emerald is a breakfast item. What the fuck? What is that in my script? What did I write there? Anyway, instead of gliding, real echidnas power up with long, sticky tongues covered in backward-facing spines. That little tongue can shoot in and out 100 times a minute to slurp up termites. Can slurp up them termites. So Knuckles' ultimate attack would be rapid-fire bug licking, I guess. Like platypuses, not only do they lay eggs, but echidnas have electroreceptors in their snouts. They can use those electroreceptors to find worms underground. Echidnas! They have a four-headed dick! They have a four-headed ding-dong! Knuckles has a ding-ding and a dong-dong. Sonic lost the race before it began. Male echidnas have one of the strangest reproductive organs in the mammal world. A penis with four heads, as I so mentioned before. Only 2 of those heads become active at a time, alternating between mating sessions. Scientists think that this might give them an advantage when competing with other males, since echidnas often mate in trains, where several males line up behind one female. That sounds terrifying. The exact evolutionary reason is still debated, but it's a standout example of how bizarre monotreme biology can get. By the way, a monotreme is basically one of the world's weirdest types of animals. Most mammals give birth to live young, but monotremes lay egg. Most mammals give birth to live young, but monotremes lay eggs instead. There are only 5 species alive today, which include the platypus and the 4 species of echidna. Did I mention that there are 4 species of echidna? There are 4 species of echidna. However, they still make milk like other mammals. These motherfuckers are weird. Speaking of odd schlongs, you probably know that cats also have a very interesting member. Cats have a barbed dick. That reminds me, check out the new game called Big the Cat and the Cactus Cock. Terrifying dicks aside, it goes without saying that echidnas do not glide with their built-in dreads. They don't fly, they don't glide. I don't know where they got that from. I highly doubt Knuckles could remain airborne for too long, what with the weight of his mutated man-meat. I will leave that opinion up to some Wattpad fanfiction. I'm not touching that. So a true Knuckles would be a nocturnal, egg-laying, worm-slurping loner with electro senses and a frankly terrifying mating system. He's a biological marvel, that's for sure, but definitely not the type of animal you'd want fronting your action franchise, I think. Who next? The Bat Baddie herself. Rouge. Rouge is billed as a mysterious jewel-thieving bat, but the biology doesn't quite add up. Let's talk about Rouge, because I can't seem to figure out what kind of bat Rouge is. I really wanted to figure out exactly or precisely what type of bat she is. She seems to be a megabat of some kind, but there doesn't seem to really be an official species listed. There's no real consensus as to what type of echidna Knuckles is either, because, you know, echidnas come in different flavors. Anyway, she could be a fruit bat. I'm actually thinking she's a fruit bat. Maybe a Honduran white bat. She does not have the little leaf nose thing. She does have large eyes. And she's clearly based on megabats. I don't know what's... So I'm thinking, let's say she's a fruit bat. She's a white fruit bat. So anyway, they rely on sharp vision instead of echolocation. They're also the largest bats in the world. Some have wingspans wider than LeBron James is tall. So Rouge being... I hope she wears perfume. She doesn't use echolocation. That is actually a shame. I think it would be absolutely badass. Most bats are microbats, which are small insect eaters that navigate and hunt with ultrasonic echolocation. If Rouge were one of these, every stealth mission would sound like a constant dog whistle. But as I said, I think she's a fruit bat. What's more, fruit bats are messy eaters that mash fruit pulp all over themselves. And they also play a vital role as seed dispersers. Our sexy bat seductress, she would likely reek to high heaven because fruit bats smell. Egyptian fruit bat is especially notable for its ability to learn and modify vocalizations, which is a process known as vocal production learning. Young bats can pick up a sort of dialect by listening not only to their mothers, but also to other members of their colony. Researchers believe that these dialects can differ between colonies, potentially leading groups to communicate at different sound frequencies. Rouge doesn't use echolocation. Wrong. Rouge doesn't smell like ass. Wrong. Rouge is just too damn sexy. Wrong. I'm not a furry. Bats can't hover like hummingbirds. You will normally see in the series that she just hovers, she can stay in one place. Most bats can't launch from the ground. They need to drop from a perch or scramble up to a surface before flying. So Rouge popping up into the sky on command is not very realistic. She can't do that, shouldn't be able to do that. Bats launch into flight by dropping from a perch. So a real Rouge should be a guava-breathed, seed-spitting megabat who would smell more like a ass. So a bat's wing is literally like a giant hand. The membrane is stretched between the elongated fingers. They are like grotesque finger kites. Isn't that amazing? Some bat species roost in colonies of thousands to millions. Real Rouge would have a screaming, stinking entourage, and bats dominate the night sky. So that means if Rouge actually did skip echolocation, she would actually struggle to hunt or fly in the pitch dark without night vision goggles. Does she have night vision? Hold on. Rouge night vision goggles. Let's see. No, that does not seem to be the case. The Rouge fails as a bat. So I think I mentioned before that fruit bats will mash fruit and spit out the pulp, which that's very useful in dispersing seeds across forests, which is a critical thing for ecosystems. With that said, Rouge should really be shitting mid-flight. Well, Rouge is not a vampire bat, I'm pretty sure, but I'll give you some vampire bat facts anyway. Vampire bats lap blood with razor-sharp incisions. They don't suck, they sip. And on top of that, they piss constantly in order to get rid of excess water. Fun. Out of 1,400 bat species, most of them eat insects, but others eat fish, frogs, and even other bats. There's even a species that eats scorpions. I don't know what you're going to do with this information. Apparently, some bats are so good with echolocation that they can detect a fruit fly in complete darkness with sonar pinpoint accuracy at the millimeter level. Oh yeah, and bats carry a whole bunch of diseases. Rabies, coronaviruses, more bat facts. Yeah, no, I think that's it. Rouge isn't just guilty of skipping echolocation, she's ignoring the fact that bats are either fruit-slurping seed cannons, or blood-sipping pea machines, or insect-sniping sonar masters. None of which scream sexy jewel thief.
Why would you want a naughty little jewel thief like me on your team?
That is none of your business, young lady.
Eggman, Robotnik, whatever, he's a cyborg. He's a human with roboticized parts or something. He's round. That's a science fact. I should have done my research on this dude. I did research on all the animals. When it got to like human being, I was like, screw those things. He's apparently has a 300 IQ, but that makes no sense considering like, how do you just not beat a hedgehog? Yeah, as a cyborg, he's a terrible ad for it. He gets outpaced by a 15-year-old hedgehog in sneakers. I don't know. That's just, what's the point? If I were to be doing a deep dive on Jim Carrey being Robotnik, I think that would be way more interesting. So yeah, Eggman captures small animals and uses them as living batteries. In order for Eggman to be able to do that, real-world biomechatronics do exist. There are cockroach bots and rat cyborgs. Putting a live rabbit inside of a hot, airless metal shell would not really work. You can't really get that type of energy from like that. His method is a little bit flawed. But let's look at animal biomechatronics, shall we? Animal biomechatronics is the science of combining living animals with mechanical or electronic technology to study the movement of the animals, enhance the abilities, or guide behavior. Researchers use tiny sensors, chips, or robotic attachments to interface directly with an animal's nervous system, essentially creating biohybrid creatures. So it's possible. He constantly designs technology far beyond real-world capability, death eggs, warp drives, artificial planets, yet he spends all of his time losing to woodland creatures. At least he has Fire Boss music. So I know I'm skipping over a lot of creatures. I know there's Sally, and I was very recently years old when I found out that Sally is actually a chipmunk. I don't know who told me this, but when I was a kid, someone told me that Sally was a doe, as in a female deer. And it made sense. She does kind of look like one. Some other sources say that she is a chipmunk slash squirrel hybrid, which also is another science crime because those two species cannot produce offspring together. Great character, but I am running out of time. If anybody wants me to look a little bit more into her, maybe I'll do another Science Crimes on Sonic, but who knows. So that concludes today's Science Crimes with Sonic and his speed shitting, Tails and his tailocopter, Knuckles and his quadcock, and Bat. There's a thing, it's a button, it's called subscribe. Please do that, do the thing. First of all, you owe me one because guess what? You don't do Sonic research without encountering some really concerning fan art. No, Sonic, he's only 8. Yeah, so do subscribe and whatever. It might help me heal my trauma a little bit. Anyway, once again, I'm Sevi. This has been Science Crime. Let me know if there are any other interesting science facts that I have not included in this video. Put them in the comments. Let me know if there are any other series you'd like me to poke some holes in. And that we're good here. Okay, bye.